Get in my bed now. The cold was endless. Snow fell like tiny needles from the gray sky. Winds howled across the empty, frozen planet. A man walked slowly through the white wasteland, his boots crunching on the icy ground. His name was Jake Carter, human engineer, age 32, stranded and freezing to death. His supply ship had crashed 2 days ago. The beacon was broken. No one knew he was here. He had eaten his last food bar 12 hours ago. Now, only one thing mattered: warmth. Jake's suit warned him of dropping temperature. Hypothermia in 30 minutes, the voice said in a calm, robotic tone. He laughed weakly. Thanks, robot. I'll just hug the snow and make friends with death. Suddenly, the suit picked up a heat signature. It was faint, but real. Someone or something was nearby. He followed it, slipping across frozen rocks. After 15 minutes, he saw a strange shape ahead, a half-buried metallic pod, partly covered in snow. It looked alien, smooth and sharp-edged, with glowing blue lines. Cautiously, Jake stepped forward and opened the hatch. Inside was darkness. He turned on his flashlight and froze. A tall alien woman was inside. Curled up, her body shaking, she wore cracked armor and had strange glowing marks on her face. Her skin was pale purple and her hair black like night. She held a small blaster in her hand, pointed straight at Jake. "Don't move," she said, her voice weak but sharp. Jake raised his hands. "I'm not here to hurt you. I saw heat. I'm freezing." The woman stared at him for a long moment. Her lips trembled. Then suddenly she dropped the blaster, grabbed his arm, and pulled him inside. "Shut up, human, we're freezing." "Get in my bed now." Jake stumbled inside the pod, confused. "Wait. What? Bed? What's going on?" She hit a button, and the hatch closed with a hiss. Warm air slowly filled the chamber. The light turned soft and red. "There's only one heat unit left," she said, falling back into the bed-like padding. "Not enough for 2 bodies. We must share heat." Jake blinked. "You want me to sleep with you?" she glared. "Not mating. Survival. Get in, or you die." Jake hesitated, then crawled into the tight space next to her. The padding was soft, the heat rising. Her skin was cold, but slowly warming. Their suits touched. Her breathing slowed. Jake was silent for a moment. Then he asked, "What are you?" Tlura," she said, eyes half closed. Was a warrior. Now I'm just lost. Why are you here?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Her voice was soft now. "I was exiled. My people left me to die here." Jake looked at her. "Why?" Tlura turned her head away. "Because I made a choice. I chose to protect something they hate." "What did you protect?" She looked at him. A long silence passed. Then she sighed. "Humans." Jake's eyes widened. "Wait, you protected us?" "From what?" Tlura closed her eyes. "Sleep now. Save energy. I'll explain later." Jake tried to relax, but his mind was racing. An alien woman exiled for protecting. Humans? What kind of danger were they in? Outside, the storm grew louder. Ice cracked. The wind screamed out inside the pod. Silence. Then Tlura spoke again, her voice barely a whisper. "If they find me, they'll kill us both." Jake didn't sleep after that. The cold was no longer the problem. Now it was the silence. Jake lay still inside the narrow pod, his body warm but his mind restless. The alien woman Tlura had fallen asleep or passed out. Her breathing was soft, her face calm, but something in her expression told Jake she wasn't at peace. He couldn't stop thinking about her words. "If they find me, they'll kill us both." Who were they? And why would they kill him? A human they didn't even know? Tlura stirred. Her eyes blinked open slowly, glowing faint blue in the dim light. Jake turned his head. "You're awake," he whispered. She didn't smile. We don't have much time. Time for what? He asked. Plura sat up, wincing in pain. Her armor was cracked, and dried purple blood marked her side. She reached into a panel and pulled out a small energy pack, connecting it to the wall. The pod's power hummed softly. Jake waited, but she didn't speak right away. She stared at the wall like it showed memories no one else could see. Finally, she said, "My people, they believe in strength, power, war. We travel, we conquer, and we erase anything that threatens our rule." Jake frowned. That sounds terrible. Plura nodded slowly. It is. That's why I broke the code. I refused an order. What? Order? He asked. She looked at him. Her voice was quiet, serious. We were told to destroy a human colony. Jake's blood ran cold. Which one? She shook her head. I don't know. It was years ago. A small base, maybe on Mars or one of your moons, but the humans weren't fighters. They were scientists, families, children. Her fists clenched. I refused to give the launch code. I said no. They called me weak. Jake was stunned. So they exiled you? They do not just exile, she said. They make you disappear. I was dropped on this planet, no food, no help. Just silence and cold. I was meant to freeze alone. Jake's voice was soft. Then, I'm the first person you've seen. Since? She nodded once. And you may be the last. Unless you help me. Jake sat up. Help you? With what? Plura reached into a compartment beneath the bed and pulled out a small cube. It glowed faint blue and clicked softly. She held it like it was a living thing. This, she said, is a memory core. It holds proof of what my people plan. Next, Jake stared at it. Are they coming to Earth? Plura hesitated, then nodded. Soon, they think humans are growing too fast, too clever. They want to stop you before you become a threat. Jake felt a strange mix of fear and anger. We're not the bad guys here. Plura's voice was calm but heavy. To them, fear is a reason to destroy. Outside, the storm eased a little. The wind became a low whisper. Jake moved to the hatch and opened it a few inches. A pale sun hung in the sky, weak and cold, but visible. The snow glowed softly under its light. He looked back at her. If that core can stop an invasion, we need to send it to Earth. She shook her head. We can't send it. The signal will be traced. They're watching, always. Jake looked around. So what do we do? Plura leaned back, closing her eyes. We go dark. We hide. We plan. And then we find a way off this planet. Jake gave a small laugh. I didn't exactly bring a spaceship with me. She gave the smallest smile. Then we build one, or we steal one. Jake stared at her. You really think we can survive long enough to do that? Her eyes opened again. You survived this cold. You found me. You're smarter than you look, human. Jake smiled faintly. Thanks, I guess. Then, a soft sound broke the moment. Beep dot 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 beep dot 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 dot. They both turned. Plura's face changed. She rushed to the back of the pod and opened a hidden panel. Inside, a small tracking beacon blinked red. Her voice was sharp. No, it's active. Jake stepped forward. What is that? She turned to him, serious and pale. It's how they find the dead, or the traitors. Jake felt a chill worse than the cold outside. They're coming? Plura didn't answer. She picked up her blaster, loaded it, and turned off the pod's heat. We have maybe one day, maybe less, after that. She looked at him, and for the first time, her voice was not commanding, but almost pleading. If I die, you run. You survive. You warn your world. Jake didn't blink. He picked up the memory core and held it tight. Not without you. Snow blew across the frozen hills like white ghosts. The wind howled through broken rock towers, sharp and cruel. But inside a narrow cave near the old crash site, Jake and Tlura worked in silence. There was no time to rest. The tracker inside. The pod had sent a signal. Something was on the way. Jake held the glowing memory core in both hands. It pulsed with soft blue light. The warmth felt almost alive, like a heartbeat. It was more than data. It was proof that Tlura's people planned to destroy Earth. Tlura watched the skies through a crack in the cave ceiling. Her sharp eyes scanned the clouds for movement. "How long do we have?" Jake asked quietly. She didn't turn. "Maybe hours. Maybe less." Jake rubbed his arms for warmth. "Can we run?" "No. If they locked on to that beacon, they'll scan the whole area. They'll look for heat, life signs, power signals." Jake shook his head. "So we just sit here and wait to die?" Tlura finally looked at him. "We wait for the right moment. Then we strike." Jake blinked. "Strike? You mean fight? You're hurt." "I'm not even a soldier. I'm an engineer." She gave him a strange look. "That may be more useful than a weapon." Jake didn't know how to respond. He looked down at the core again. "Why haven't they attacked Earth yet? If your people are so powerful, what's the delay?" Tlura sat down on a flat stone. "Your world is full of noise radio waves. Satellites, scanners. My people want a clean strike, one hit, no warning. But they fear something too." Jake raised an eyebrow. "They fear us?" She nodded. "Not now, but one day. They watch your science, your growth, the things your kind do when pushed. It scares them. So they want to wipe you out before you become a threat." Jake gave a bitter laugh. "Well, that's just perfect." Tlura suddenly tensed. Her head tilted like she heard something far away. Her voice dropped. "They're close." Jake froze. "How do you know?" "I can feel. Their ship. Low energy. Silent flight. Scanners off. That's how we move when we hunt traitors." Jake ran to the cave entrance and looked out. The sky was empty at first, but then he saw it. A dark shape, barely visible, floating in the clouds. Smooth. Like a blade in the sky. Tlura grabbed her blaster. "Stay low. Do not speak unless I say so." The ship hovered above the crash site. No lights, no sound. Then 3 beams of red light shot down, scanning the ground. Scout drones. She whispered. "Fast armed, no mercy." Jake crouched beside her. "What do we do?" She looked at him calmly. "We move." Before he could ask, she jumped from the cave and slid down the icy slope like a shadow. Jake followed, slipping and falling twice. Tlura didn't wait. She moved through the snow like she belonged to it. They reached the edge of a ridge. Below, 3 drones floated silently, each one round like a floating eye, scanning the wrecked pod. One of them turned and fired a laser at the door boom. The pod exploded in fire and smoke. Jake ducked. They destroyed it. Tlura's face was cold. "They think I'm dead now." Jake looked at her. "And if they don't?" She didn't blink. "Then we kill them before they call home." Before Jake could say anything, she was already moving. She ran straight at the nearest drone, rolled beneath its scanning beam, and fired. Zap! The drone sparked and dropped. Like a rock. The other 2 turned sharply, red eyes glowing. One fired. Tlura jumped behind a rock as ice exploded around her. Jake panicked. Then, without thinking, he grabbed a piece of the pod wreckage nearby, a power coil. He remembered how to overload it. He pulled the wires, adjusted the settings, and threw it like a grenade. The coil hit the second drone. Flash! It exploded in a burst of blue lightning. The last drone turned toward Jake, charging a shot. He froze. Then bang! Tlura shot it clean through the center. The drone dropped dead. Jake's breath came fast. His hands were shaking. I thought I was gonna die. Plura walked over, helping him stand. You didn't. He looked at the smoldering drone. I just guessed how to overload it. I didn't even know if it would work. She stared at him for a moment. You guessed right. That's what humans do, Jake swallowed. Now what? More coming? Plura looked up. The sky was quiet. Again. That was the scout team, but they know now. The main ship won't be far. Jake picked up the memory core again. Then we need to move. Fast. Plura nodded. Yes, and if they want to stop us. Her eyes narrowed. They'll learn. What happens when humans and traitors fight back? Night fell on the frozen planet like a heavy curtain, bringing deeper cold and thicker silence. But this night was not empty. Somewhere in the black sky above, they were watching. Jake and Plura had taken shelter inside a collapsed ridge cave, small, hidden, and almost invisible from the sky. The fire Jake had built burned low, just enough to keep their hands warm, but not enough to send smoke into the air. Any heat signature could be tracked. Plura sat against the wall, polishing the barrel of her alien weapon. She had removed her cracked armor chest plate, revealing deep bruises and a scarred shoulder. Jake tried not to stare, but her skin was marked with strange symbols that glowed faintly in the dark like language written in light. Those marks, Jake said finally. What do they mean? Plura didn't look up. They are stories. Names. Wars survived. Commands given. Lives spared. Spared? Jake raised an eyebrow. I thought your people were warriors. Plura nodded. We are. But even. Warriors must choose when not to kill. Those moments. They matter most. Jake stared into the fire. Sounds like you were a good leader. Her jaw tightened. Not good enough. I lost my command when I chose to protect humans instead of obeying orders. Jake thought of his home blue skies, trees, people laughing, music. He looked at her. Thank you. For choosing us. Plura didn't answer, but her eyes softened slightly. Suddenly, a sharp buzz echoed through the cave. Plura jumped up, blaster raised. Jake grabbed the scanner. They had placed it outside as a warning system. A signal flashed. They found U.S., she whispered. No ships, Jake said, checking the scanner. But something's moving. Ground team. Close. 5. Maybe 6 targets. Plura looked at him. Then we make our first contact. Jake stared. You mean fight? No, she said. I mean show them we won't run. They exited the cave under the cover of darkness. The wind had calmed, and moonlight bounced off the snow like silver fire. Ahead, the hills curved into a deep valley where movement flickered red lights. Glowing armor, tall figures. Plura crouched low, watching. Strike team. Elite. I know their leader. Jake narrowed his eyes. Friend or enemy? Her voice was cold. He called for my exile. What do you think? Before Jake could answer, the team split into formation, weapons raised. One of them shouted in a strange language. Then a voice spoke in English, loud and smooth, through a translator. Plura of Clan Veth, you are ordered to surrender. The human beside you will be executed quickly. Show respect, die quietly. Jake's blood ran cold. They don't even care about talking. Plura stepped forward out of the shadows. I will not surrender. And the human is under my protection. The leader stepped into view. A towering figure in dark armor, his helmet shaped like a beast's skull. His voice was full of venom. You have chosen death, traitor. Jake whispered, we're outnumbered. Plura handed him a small disc. Emp Pulse. You'll know when to use it. She sprinted forward before he could argue. Blaster fire lit the night blue and red streaks burning through the cold. Plura moved like lightning, rolling, leaping, shooting. With perfect aim. One enemy fell. Then another. Jake ducked behind a rock, heart pounding. One of the soldiers broke formation and rushed toward him. Jake pulled the disc, waited, counted -3.2. Now. He slammed it against the snow. A blast of blue light spread in a circle, and the soldier's suit shorted out. The alien dropped. Weapon dead, limbs shaking. Jake grabbed the fallen blaster. "Tlura!" he shouted, running into the fight. She was on her knees, breathing hard. Her leg was hit, bleeding dark. 3 enemies remained. Jake aimed the alien gun and fired, missed once, then hit. The beam slammed the soldier into the ice. The last 2 circled them. One raised his arm for a kill shot. Then Jake hacked the blaster. In seconds, he overloaded it the same way he'd done with the power coil before. "Hey," he shouted. "Catch this." He tossed it. The alien caught it and exploded. Only one remained. Tlura stood, limping, face fierce. "You were my brother once," she said to the last attacker. "Now you are just a dog of war." He raised his weapon. Jake shot him through the neck. Silence returned. The valley was full of smoke and frozen fire. Jake dropped the gun, his hands shaking. Tlura walked to him, leaned on his shoulder. "You are not just an engineer," she said. Jake exhaled. "And you're not just a soldier." She looked at the fallen enemy leader. He was wearing a signal transmitter. "That means the mothership knows." Jake swallowed. "Knows what?" Tlura's voice was calm. "That I'm alive, that you're helping me, and that Earth is no longer sleeping." The storm returned with fury. Winds tore across the ice, stronger than ever. Snow blasted sideways, blinding and sharp. Jake and Tlura struggled through it, leaning into the wind as they climbed the frozen ridge. Their bodies were weak. Tlura's leg was still bleeding. Jake's hands were numb despite the heating pads she had given him, but neither of them stopped. They had no choice. Behind them, the smoke of battle still rose in the distance. Above them, somewhere in orbit, the alien mothership waited silent, watching, preparing. Tlura's breath came in short gasps. "There's a place hidden beneath the ice. A vault. Old even to my people." Jake followed her gaze. The hill in front of them didn't look like anything special, just another mound of snow. But something about the shape was wrong. Too smooth. Too even. Tlura knelt down and placed her hand on the surface. Her fingers glowed faint blue, the markings on her skin pulsing. A circular pattern formed in the snow. Jake watched as the ground beneath them slowly opened. No noise, no machinery, just movement like magic. The ice melted into a spiral staircase of dark metal, leading deep into the earth. Jake blinked. "How long has this been here?" Tlura stared into the pit. "Thousands of years, maybe more. This planet was a prison and a vault." Jake hesitated. "A prison? For what?" She didn't answer. They descended into the darkness. The air was warmer, thick with old energy. Walls of smooth metal hummed faintly. The deeper they went, the more the silence pressed against Jake's ears, like the whole place was holding its breath. At the bottom was a massive chamber. In the center stood a tall obelisk, black as night, covered in glowing lines. Around it, floating in slow circles, were thin panels of alien crystal, each one reflecting memories, voices, and flashes of unknown wars. Jake stepped forward. "What is this place?" Tlura touched one of the panels gently. "This is where my people store forbidden knowledge, technology too dangerous, truth too painful. This is what they didn't want me to find." Jake stared at the obelisk. "What truth?" Tlura didn't speak. Instead, the vault reacted to her presence. The obelisk lit up, bright white symbols flooding its surface. A voice echoed from the walls, not male, not female, but deep and ancient. Genetic match confirmed, Tlura Kreen, daughter of Earthblood. Access granted. Jake froze. Did it just say, daughter of Earth? Tellura stood still. Her face was unreadable. I was born on Earth, she said softly. Not all of me, but part. Jake's voice was barely a whisper. What do you mean? She turned to him, finally telling the truth. My mother was human. My father was part of the first scout fleet. He fell in love with a human scientist. During a quiet mission, she never knew the truth. I was taken as a baby raised among my father's people. They erased her memory, then erased him. Jake stared, stunned. They feared what I was, she continued. Half human. Half of what they considered weak. I hid it for years. Until I started asking questions. Until I refused to kill. That's when they exiled me. Jake stepped closer. You're part of us. She nodded. And that's why I fight for you. Suddenly, the vault lights dimmed. The obelisk shifted, revealing a hollow core. Inside floated a small sphere, half metal, half crystal, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Final protocol available, the voice said. World override signal. Target, primary invasion fleet. Jake looked at Tellura. What is that? She stared at it, her eyes full of memories. It's a command key. It can send a signal strong enough to shut down every ship in my people's fleet. Jake stepped forward. That's it. That's how we stop them. But the voice spoke again. Warning. One life required for activation. Silence fell. Tellura looked down. Jake shook his head. No way. We'll find another way. But she already knew. This is why the vault was built. The signal must be sent by someone with my DNA, and the system needs a life to power it. That's how they made it. Jake clenched his fists. Then I'll do it. I'll go in. But the voice was already scanning. Human genetic material. Partial match. Incompatible. Jake looked at her with pleading eyes. There has to be a third option. And then the obelisk shifted again. Combined genetic sequence detected. Hybrid compatibility found. Dual activation possible. Jake blinked. What? Tellura's eyes widened. It means, if we both connect together, we can activate it and survive. The voice paused. Risk? High? Success? Unknown. Do you wish to proceed? Jake didn't even think. Yes. Tellura nodded once. Let's end this. They stepped forward, side by side, as the vault opened completely. Light surrounded them. The pulse of the sphere grew faster. Outside, high above the clouds, the alien mothership began to move, and Earth unknowingly stood one breath away from war. The light from the vault was blinding. Not because it was bright, but because it felt ancient, alive, like something that had waited for a very long time. Jake stood beside Tellura, his heart racing. The energy from the core wrapped around them both, scanning, humming, calculating. In that moment, it felt like the planet itself was watching, holding its breath. The voice from the vault echoed again, calm and final. Hybrid sequence confirmed. Begin synchronization. Tellura turned her face slightly toward Jake. Once we start, there's no way back. Jake nodded slowly. If this stops the invasion, we go forward. The platform beneath their feet shifted. Two thin beams of light rose from the ground and connected to their chests. The warmth was intense. Their bodies floated an inch above the metal floor, surrounded by streams of glowing symbols. Tellura's markings pulsed brighter than ever. And something in Jake's skin began to glow too faint, but there. I can feel your code, she whispered. Your DNA. It's fighting back, adapting, fast. Jake grinned despite the fear. Welcome to humanity. We're stubborn. The vault responded to their connection. The protocol core, still floating at the center, cracked open like a flower, revealing a web of shining threads that began pulling data coordinates, command codes, shutdown frequencies. Everything that could tear an empire apart. Warning. The transmission signal will expose the vault's location. Jake stiffened. They'll know where we are. Plura nodded grimly. They'll come fast, all of them. The voice continued. Transmission requires full neural bond. Merge required. Jake blinked. Merge? Plura closed her eyes. It means we must connect completely. Thoughts, memories, pain, everything. Jake hesitated. You'll see everything I've been through? Yes, she said, and you'll see mine. The platform began to glow brighter. The process had already started. Jake felt at first like a door in his mind opening. At once, he saw flashes, a small girl crying under a dark sky, a warrior standing over a battlefield, Plura screaming as her father was pulled away by her own people, the cold silence of exile, her fear, her strength, her loneliness. Then she saw him, a young Jake building robots in his garage, his mother laughing as she burned pancakes. The day his brother died in a mining accident, the emptiness he felt afterward, the moment he crashed here, thinking. It was his end. Plura gasped. You feel so much. Jake's voice cracked. So do you. You just don't show it. The lights around them pulsed harder. The vault trembled. Outside, the sky above the frozen planet darkened. The mothership was descending. Its engines hummed like a planet-sized beast waking up. Initiate final override. Countdown begins. 60 seconds. Jake's hands tightened into fists. We're almost there. But suddenly, pain shot through him. A violent shock from the core. Plura screamed. The voice echoed. Signal requires stabilizer. System unstable. Recommend emergency sacrifice. Jake cried out, No! You said we could do this together. The vault lights flickered. The system wanted one life again. Just one. Plura looked at him. Her face was calm now, peaceful. Jake, I was born to die in a war. But this is the one choice that matters. No, he said, stepping forward. You said we could survive. She smiled softly. You can? That's what matters. He shook his head, angry, desperate. Don't do this. But she had already turned to the core, stepping into the beam fully. Her body glowed completely now, light and shadow wrapped into one form. Jake ran toward her, but energy walls shot up, blocking him. Plura, her voice echoed through his mind, live human. Tell them we chose to protect. That we were. More than war. The vault roared with power. Override confirmed. Signal sent. From orbit, the mothership shuddered. Inside it, systems collapsed. Fleets across distant star maps blinked off one by one. Engines died. Weapons powered down. Earth, still unaware of its danger, was suddenly safe. And on the frozen world, the vault exploded in a beam of light so strong it lit the sky for miles. Jake was thrown back against the cave wall. When he woke, hours later, the core was gone. The obelisk had melted into black glass. Plura was nowhere. He crawled to the center. Her footprints in the dust glowed faintly, slowly fading. Jake whispered into the silence, You saved all of us. He took one last look at the broken vault, then picked up the only thing left behind, a small pendant from her armor. The symbols. On it pulsed faint blue. He held it to his chest and walked out into the light. The stars above were peaceful now. The danger was gone. But something inside Jake had changed forever. He wasn't just an engineer, he was a witness. The snow had stopped falling. For the first time since Jake landed on this frozen planet, the wind was silent. The sky above was deep blue, almost like Earth's but quieter. Lonelier. Jake stood alone at the edge of a cliff, staring into the vast emptiness. Below him, white fields stretched to the horizon, broken only by the black scar where the vault had once been. Now it was just melted stone and silence. No light, no voice. No T-single quotes Lura dot she was gone. The core had activated. The protocol had been sent. And across the stars, her people's fleet had gone dark, crippled by a signal born from her sacrifice. Earth was safe. Billions of lives protected. No one on Jake's homeworld even knew how close they'd come to extinction. And no one knew the name of the woman who saved them. But Jake did. He opened his hand. In his palm lay the pendant she left behind, smooth metal, etched with her glowing family mark. He had worn it every day since the blast. It was all he had left of her. And yet, deep down, he refused to believe the story ended there. He'd felt something the moment the vault lit up, some kind of feedback in his mind. Not pain, not even words, just a presence. A whisper that hadn't faded. Something remained. Over the next 2 days, Jake searched the ruins again and again. He found melted walls, shattered circuits, and dust. But no body. Not a trace of T-single quotes Lura dot. On the third day, his scanner picked up a signal, a pulse, deep beneath the stone. He followed it. Digging by hand. Cutting through layers of ice with a salvaged heat torch. And then, hidden beneath a collapsed arch of alien steel, he found it, a stasis pod, cracked, dim, but still alive. Inside was T-single quotes Lura dot. She was unconscious, her body pale and still, but her chest rose slowly. A soft light blinked on the side of the pod, struggling to hold life. Jake dropped to his knees beside it. "You're here," he whispered, tears forming behind his eyes. "You stubborn alien." He opened a repair kit and went to work. Hours passed. He didn't rest. He recharged the pod using the last power cell from his crashed ship. He rewired the circuits, bypassed damaged cores. He didn't know if it would work, but then she stirred. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly in the dim cave. She looked at him for a long moment, confused. Then smiled. "You fixed the vault," she whispered. He laughed, voice breaking. "No, I fixed you." They sat in silence for a while. She was weak, but alive. Her body had gone into emergency stasis when the energy reached critical levels. Some part of the vault had protected her. Or maybe she had willed it to. Jake helped her sit up. "The war's over," he said. "Your people, their fleet is finished." She nodded. "And Earth?" "Safe." She looked at him for a long time. "Then why are you still here?" Jake smiled softly. "Because I made a promise. I told you I wouldn't leave without you." Lura leaned her head back, closing her eyes. "You humans," she said, voice full of tired amusement. "Always dramatic." "Only when we care," he replied. They camped near the ruins for 2 more days, gathering strength. Jake fixed a short-range transmitter, and finally, a signal went through. A human rescue ship was nearby, responding to a missing engineer report from a crashed supply run. It would arrive in 5 days. Lura wasn't sure they would accept her, but Jake was. "You saved them," he said. "You're one of us." She raised an eyebrow. "I'm not exactly human," Jake smiled. "Close enough." "You like pancakes?" She frowned. "What is pancake?" He grinned. "We'll fix that when we get home." On the last night before rescue, they lay side by side in the snow, watching the stars. Lura whispered, "You know, they'll come again. Maybe not soon. Maybe not from my people. But someone always does." Jake nodded. "Then we'll be ready." She turned her head toward him. "You still have that core?" He held up the pendant. "Right here." "Good," she said. "We're not done yet." And in the distance, the stars shifted just slightly, as if something far away had taken notice.